Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to this live webinar from HBXL, where we're going to be talking about how to estimate a complex job quickly and accurately. Hi Matt, welcome.
Hello.
Perfect. Oh, look at that. It's already off to a seamless start. We've got audio, we've got visual. What more could people want? Right. If you can, hopefully you can all hear us. If you are struggling at all, please do use the chat or questions function on the right hand side panel that you'll be able to see. I'll just go through a few different bits before handing over to Matt, who's going to talk you through PlansXpress Takeoff and a bit of Estimator, which is, I think, is going to be pretty exciting. I think there's going to be a lot of really neat tips and tricks that Matt's going to share with you all. So if you can hear us, do make sure you ask any questions throughout, and if you can't hear us, do also let us know in the chat as well.
There should be an option to pop your hand up on the right hand side as well. If you can click that button for us, at least it makes us aware that our sound is coming through.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Darren, thank you ever so much. So we do know our sound is coming through. That is all that's necessary so far. Anyway.
Hey, we're on a roll now. Is to keep up, make it like water and flow. So, quick intros. Matt, I'm going to hand over to you now, seeing as this is your show really. So, who are you, and why are you talking to us, everyone, today?
Well, many people actually on the that are attendees know me from sales, but they also know me from the estimating service. I'm the estimating manager. So I'm looking at plans every day, everything from assessing to actually estimating with our software through using the techniques that we're going to be seeing today. I've been with the company for 14 years, and I've got a history personally in construction as well, working for my father's company. But he told me that I was more damage with a brush, so I better just, if I want to stay in the construction industry, I better just be doing something else than what I was doing at that time anyway. But yeah, that's a little bit about me that everybody knows anyway. And like I said, we're going to be running through how I use these software packages to the betterment of what people are already using, and or if they are looking at going ahead as well.
Perfect, brilliant. Thanks for that, Matt. So I know we've got a mix of different people who signed up for the webinar today. Some people who use some HBXL software, some people who don't, and sort of a lot of people who've used it over the years and are not currently anymore. So what I'm going to do now is sort of just give a quick intro to HBXL, the product suite, to sort of make sure we're all on sort of the same level. And so I'll take a couple of minutes, and then I'll be handing over to Matt, who's then going to be showing you all the tips and tricks. So do if you can't hear us at all, do put in the comments. Do get involved. If you have any questions throughout, please do use the question or chat functionality to get in touch. I'll be helping pass those through to Matt, who will do his best to answer those as we go through you will get a copy of the recording about an hour or so after the session ends. We will also then, in about a week's time, we'll splice up this video and we'll into little segments. So if there was a particular area of the video and you can't remember where it was, you'll hopefully get little snippets of that snippets of the video, so you can fast forward or just choose to watch a specific part of the session. Oh, and this is where the mouse has disappeared. So we're going to run through low software tips, and Matt is going to answer as many questions as possible. A little bit about HBXL now. So for those of you who aren't aware, we've been in the software game for 25 years. Started off from Adrian, our chairman, who started off as a builder and developer, and went into the software side of things, starting off, and we've now got a whole suite of products which I'll quickly intro you to. Some of the reasons of why we've lasted for 25 years, as most of you guys will be aware, being around for 25 years in sort of the residential construction game, is quite a feat. And a lot of that is backed up with our support and onboarding sessions. So Matt, Mark, and Sam and other members of the team you'll know, and Joe, part of our support, heads of our support team. Part of what we really pride ourselves on is that support and onboarding. So any questions you do have, so we do things like these webinars, but when you actually purchase software, we make sure we have that dedicated time to make sure we run through the software so you can get the most out of it and ultimately make sure that your estimates are helping earn you more money. Have a look at our reviews on Trustpilot as well. If you haven't heard about us before, do have a look on Trustpilot. Just search HBXL and you'll see that, yeah, we're like old Ronseal. We do what we say on the tin, and hopefully that that sort of feeds through into what people say about us. And we are a UK-based company. We do focus on the UK market, and I think that's something that we found is quite a differentiator to other people that do estimating softwares. There are lots of other companies that do it, but a lot of them are not based here and don't have that knowledge of the UK market, and that's something that we really pride ourselves on. So, for example, Matt, who's obviously going to be delivering this today, has been doing this in the UK, knows the specs, the regulations within our market, and that's something that we really pride ourselves on. And the final thing that sort of a little bit about HBXL is we sort of have this like triumvirate of a business where we do the software, which we talk about today, the estimating service that Matt heads up and manages, where we actually help do the estimates for you as well. Software, it's do it yourself. The estimating service is we do the estimates on your behalf. And we also have a skills academy, which helps provide, so some people I know who are attending today have been part of our skills academy as well, where we have funding for different regions through either the Department of Education or through the CITB, where we have funded courses such as CAD for construction and estimating. Is where every time I do that, my mouse seems to disappear and move. So a little bit about Takeoff that we're going to be talking about today. So it's a mix of our PlansXpress software and our PlansXpress Take-off software and EstimatorXpress. We're going to be looking at how do we generate automatic estimates from traces, automatic 3D models from a trace, and automatic reports from a trace. One trace to rule them all for all you Lord of the Rings fans out there. And it is designed for residential builders. For the product suite, PlansXpress and EstimatorXpress, you'll see just on the screen there. PlansXpress helps feed into EstimatorXpress, which feeds into the rest of the products. With all the products, that everything syncs together, we have this technology in the background that's called XConnects, and basically that means all of our different softwares are able to be used together. So once you trace, it uploads to Estimator. You can bring in your health and safety documents, your contracts, upload to our job and task management platform, build projects, and it makes everything really seamless throughout. So if you are, for example, just using EstimatorXpress now, or you have no idea about any of this stuff that we're talking about, you start seeing actually we've got our drawing tool, our estimating tool, health and safety documents, contracts, job and task management, and it all feeds in together. So nothing is standalone. Everything, once you stack them on top of each other, you get even more benefits. So just quickly, just before I hand you over to Matt, we have estimating and CAD for construction courses that I just mentioned through our Skills Academy, which we provide CITB funded training courses. So if you're part of the Construction Industry Training Board and you pay the levy fee, then you have access to a certain number of training credits which you can be used towards these courses. So those are 40-hour courses, either looking at how to look everything from estimating in terms of how to estimate, examples, building up skills, looking at how does it relate to profit and margins. Or you can do for certain regions in the UK, there's funding through skills boot camps, which is funded by the Department for Education, and those are all about actually in certain areas of the UK you can get access to free courses which are paid for out of the Department for Education's budget. And do stay until the end, because what would be a webinar without a little bit of an offer that Matt's gonna there? So you'll be able to. We'll reveal that at the end. So, Matt, without further ado, I've taken up far too much time. Are you ready for me to hand over to you?
I am, yes.
Perfect. I will make you presenter and hand over the reins. Hopefully my screen has now disappeared from your view. And I am also going to turn off my camera and retreat to the background so you can focus on, Matt's going to share his screen and you can entirely focus on that and exactly what he's describing. So over to you, Matt.
Okay, so what I do want to show is, first off, can you see that two people are incredibly happy together? Can we see that?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Hopefully we can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shut my camera off as well, just so that depending on your internet speeds, don't want to use up all the bandwidth. So I'm just going to go and turn that one off there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm now going to turn on my other computer, and we're going to be able to see a set of plans. Now, what I'm going to be showing you today is PlansXpress and EstimatorXpress. PlansXpress can be used as a full designing package, so an architectural planning package. EstimatorXpress is what it says on the tin. It's the estimating package, so you'll be able to estimate anything from a patio through to new build house, development plots, parking lots, and so on. All right. Now, what we've got here is your typical multi-story side extension with internal renovation, and then we also have a change in brickwork to blockwork and render from first floor to second floor, and then we can see that the roof ties in as well. Firstly, what you're going to do is you're going to go into PlansXpress, and you're going to be greeted with this page here. It's going to ask you to draft plans from scratch manually or import and trace for an existing plan. Now, typically, you would select this option, but I'm actually just going to choose the first one for now. It will make sense in a moment. And then what you'll get to do is you'll get to choose the scale of the plan straight away. So hopping back to this plan, I can see that I've got a scale of 1 to 50 on an A1 or 1 to 100 on A3. Now, I'm not going to go through and just simply talk you through this part because that'll be teaching you how to suck eggs and I don't want to offend you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go, oh, I forgot it. It's just hopped out of my head. Yep, 1 to 50 A1, and I'm going to select a plain page. So now what you can see here is we've got that plain page in front of us. The reason I wanted to do this is because, as I said, this is a design package, so I do want to show you some of the functions as well that the design package does have on offer. Down at the bottom of the page, you're going to be able to see the size, ISO, which is A1, the scale 1 to 50. And if I were to just click that once with my left mouse button, you're going to see whether I want it to be landscape or portrait. So I can change this to portrait depending on the plans that you're going to be importing or the plans that you want to do. I can change that back very simply. I can also change the scale to whatever I wish, and I can even change the size of the page to whatever I wish as well. All right, so you have that function immediately. Across the top, you have your architectural options. So you have external walls, internal walls, feature masonry, doors, windows, openings and steelwork, staircases, flooring, drainage, external works and landscaping, electrical works, plumbing works, plastering and decorating, renovation options, and then we also have chimneys and fire stops. You're probably thinking, where are the roofs? On the next tab, we have roofs and attics. You have multiple roof options, attic options, dormers, roof windows. That includes Velux skylights, aluminium roof lights, and your typical Velux window as well. Next to that, we then have drawing and annotation. This is where we can use linear dimensions, so we can click between 2 points, and it's going to tell us how far that is. We've also got the option of dropping in what we call construction lines, so we can see how we can create shapes in the software, something that I'm going to show you how I'm going to be using the software in a moment. This is imperative for very quick estimating. So I can just remove that as well by just hitting the delete button. We've also got modify and select. So what we can do is we can set items as non-estimated. You do have these functions on your mouse with their buttons, and I'll show you how those work later on as well. Views in 3D, so we can get a nice 3D image of what we're actually building. That comes with every version of our software. There is a difference between the Plus and the Takeoff version versus the premium version. And that is what we call the 3D photo visualizer. And what that would do is actually just gives you more of a stronger render of your 3D. This is pretty much the difference between Plus to Premium when you are looking at the packages, okay, including another couple of options that I'll show you as well. But this is your big item here. This is your big ticket item. Scan and trace, this is what I'm going to use to import my drawing. Non-estimated symbols, if you were doing your own plans, you can then start dropping in front doors and back doors. Electrical items, if you're going to be doing electrical runs and such as well. So you have all of these items available as well. Non-estimated 3D symbols, this is where you can actually start dropping in, if I just pull this from the other page, the likes of different decking options, different double door options. This is only if you don't like the ones that we already have in the software package. These are the ones that you can drop in. Sections, so if you are going to be doing your own designs, you can do your own sections as well, such as brick and block walls, block cavity walls. And if you click the drop down box, you'll see that we've done multiple different options for you as well. And then lastly, you've got settings, so you can use points, you can change the size of the page, you can add in a grid if you wish, you can look at the wall hatching options, and then you've also got switch mouse buttons as well. So if you're left-handed, right-handed, we've got those options available for you as well. Okay, now I know that's a lot of jargon to get through from the very beginning to get us to where we want to be now. All right, so if you do have any questions, as Ben stated earlier on, please do type them in, ask them as we go along. If they are relevant to what I'm showing at that very moment, what I'll do is I will answer at that time. If not, we'll take it to the very end and then I'll answer them as we go. All right, so what we want to do, click scan and trace, import the drawing. I can import PDFs, images, so you're looking at JPEGs or even photos from your camera, okay, on your phone. You can import those here. I highly recommend if you can get the PDF or the CAD drawing, do that, okay? But sometimes we just have to work with what we've got. With that PDF, I then have to just find the relevant job. So I'm just going to go and find my training option for the webinar, and then I can choose my plans. So what we can see here is I can set my rotation as well, depending on what it needs to look like. We've got the import quality. We have standard, better, and best. This function was in the package years and years ago. I highly recommend, I would probably know now with your computers, always select best. The render will work so much better for you, all right? And it's a lot more of a clear image. Once you click finish, the software is going to help you now. In the bottom left-hand corner, we have a give first corner point. Now, just through using the software and being with the company for close to 15 years now, always hover the mouse over the bottom left-hand corner. This little blue box will appear, okay? I just have to click once with my left mouse button, and then I can drag it all the way to the edge. Now, I know that with the scale that I've selected, I know that this box is correct, so I could drag it all the way to the edge if I wished. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something that sometimes does happen with your plans if they have borders. Sometimes your architect can just be doing something a little bit more quirky. So it's always best to just measure it yourself within the software so you always know that you're going to get the right scale. So I'm going to make it nice and small. And then what we have here is measure image scale. So if I click that, the software is then going to tell me select an edge or outer frame. So you just highlight the plan. And now it's asking for the first point. Now, more often than not, if you have a good set of plans, you're going to have a scale on there. If not, no worries. More often than not, as your knowledge of the industry, you could guess that this is probably going to be a 300 mil wall. So I could set that was going to be 300 mil, and the scale would be pretty much correct. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to go from point 1. Oh, see, and this is what I mean. Right now, that's 6 meters, isn't it? There it is. Yep. Likes to throw one in there for me. So I'm just going to go from here, from 0 to 5. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set out this distance in millimeters. All right. So I can say that this is going to be 5,000. I'm just going to click OK. Looks like it's disappeared. but what it's actually done is now scaled correctly for me. All right, so we now have that in shape. What we can do now is set out what is existing on our plan versus what is going to be new. So to do that, this is why we're speaking about your construction lines, because right now what you can see here is no matter how much I drag, like you would do on your typical desktop, left mouse button, hold down, trying to select something, nothing's coming up. Whereas if I get my construction lines, what I can do is I can now place these. And this might seem quick, but I appreciate that you've got a rest of your evening to attend to. So I'm going to keep this nice and pacey. You can see now that we have these lines. And I've pretty much got, without tooting my own horn, the shape of all the internal walls and the external walls of my particular build. All right, and I know that's on the ground floor. We could do the second floor in a moment, or the first floor, depending on how you want to state it, but we can do that. All right, now what we want to do is we want to set this out as what's going to be estimated versus what's going to be non-estimated. So what you would do is you would simply do the takeoff as you normally would, but then you would set everything as non-estimated and then you would start. I know that sounds long-winded, but it's going to make sense the moment I do this. So if I go to architectural, I can see that on these plans as well. I've got my elevations here. Ground floor is going to be brick, so I'm presuming it's going to be brick across the front and then render across the top. All right. I can then, with my external walls, we have single leaf and double leaf. And as you would have seen here, the moment I click the drop-down box on any one of these options, we have a catalog of different calculators that are popping up. All right. Even into decoration options as well. If you're going to be going around the entire house painting the radiators, we've got that option in there for you as well. So I'm going to select a double leaf external wall. And with that in mind, I can choose my wall specification. And this is something that we've built into the software, so you can generate your own wall dimensions within this package. Now, one of the questions is, can you create your own templates? Absolutely. You create them in EstimatorXpress and you pull them over into this package. All right. And you could do that with our technical team. I'm going to select this, going to be brick and block. And then we've got the options of raft foundation, stripped foundation. We've also got garage wall and a typical wall. Differences are that the garage wall is going to exclude insulation and plastering. All right. It's just going to be brick, block, and then you can stick your roof on. So I'm going to go down here. I've got my brick and block cavity wall strip foundation. I'm going to select that with a left mouse click. We've then got some heights for you that you can change yourself. You don't have to use our standard template. So I'm going to do 2.4 multi-story. But as you can see beneath there, it says 2.4 single story as well. Difference between the two, as it probably makes sense, is that there is a 225 mil gap between the ceiling and the roof to put in a joist, so you can then fix that joist in to put in the second floor, okay, or the first floor, depending on how you want to call it. We can select that there, and then we also have whether or not it's going to be a shallow strip foundation, trench fill foundation, or a raft foundation, depending on what we want to select. I'm going to go with no foundations for the time being. Again, it's just to take out noise from the drawing. I can click select, and now we have the option of how much the brick is going to cost, what our cavity is, what our internal leaf is going to be. So I can just click here. We've got 140 mil cavity with 90 mil board insulation. We can go down to 150 mil. We can go, up to 150 mil, down to 125 mil, even further down to 100 mil as well with 90 mil fill board. In a leaf, we've got aerated block, but we do have timber frame subcontractors coming in to do that work for you. We've also got dense block. On internal walls, if you're going to be laying a block flat, we have that option as well. So I'll show you that later on. But I can select the dense block, sand, lime, cement, parge coat if that is relevant. Our internal finish is going to be a skimmed 12.5 millimeter plasterboard dot and dab. But you might be thinking, hold on a minute, mine's going to be an insulated board on a dot and dab, or it could be on timbers. Again, click that drop down. You will find that in this option here. Now, what a lot of you that have seen the software in the past might be thinking, Christ, this is actually a lot of information. This used to all be in EstimatorXpress, and you're absolutely right. What we're doing now is we're doing it all in PlansXpress. So it's on your mind, you're doing everything correct now. So when you import it into EstimatorXpress, the options have got to change, or what, the options that you have to change are going to be so minimal, you do less estimating in EstimatorXpress. Okay, so we're trying to make that easier for you. But now you might also be thinking as well, I selected a brick and block cavity wall. I was able to change the external leaf, the internal leaf. What about if it has a parapet wall? What about if it has a plinth? These options weren't on those typical drop downs. You're absolutely right. So what we have here is we have the parapet option available now, but that plinth, what we can do here is you have a box at the top that says show non-required mini specs, which are usually things that we say are typically not standard, but can be added on. So if I click that, this option of drop downs becomes much larger. So now you have your extras. So you have additional or alternative external leaves. Below DPC, you've got multiple options added to yourself as well. And then we've also got plinth, outer layer, inner layer, and so on. So we do have these options available for you. It's just at a click of a button. It is very close. We've also got the height of the wall above DPC, depth of the floor zone, the thickness of the internal leaf, the thickness of the external leaf. Is the main wall to be parged? Yes or no? Is it to be plastered? Is the main wall to be decorated internally? Is the main wall skirted? Is the skirting going to be decorated? Yes or no? So you have these options available. Again, parapet options, foundations options. I've said no to this one right now. That's absolutely fine. And then we have our footing details as well with a cavity of 100 mil. Once I'm happy with that, I can click OK. What we're now going to see is that I'm going to select this wall here. I'm going to pull that all the way down and all the way across. So what you can now see is, oh, I've now got this shape available. And if I go to views in 3D and 3D preview, what you're now going to see here is I've got this shape. All right. I can do the exact same for the internal walls as well. So if I wanted that to be a party wall that I wanted to draw in, I can go internal walls, double leaf internal wall, block and ICF, block and SIPs, block and timber frame, block cavity. I've even got party wall in there as well with a strip foundation, 2.4 multi-story, no foundations for this because it's already there. And then we've got all of our options available as well. Again, now I want this to show one leaf and be coming up to this line here. But if I click that corner, it seems to be all over the place. All right, this can happen. That's not a problem at all, because in the top left-hand corner, you have something called justification and external side. So what this means is that you can actually then start selecting different sides of the wall to draw. And we also have center in there as well for that party wall. So I can pull that all the way up. We have that party wall in there now. Fusion 3D, 3D preview. We have that party wall in there as well. And as you can see, this is just being done nice and fast so we can get the shape of what is already existing. A lot of this you can just set to defaults as well, because life doesn't need you to focus on this part heavily. So we've then got that aerated block, strip foundation, 2.4, multi-story, no foundation. Again, it's repetitive. It might get annoying, all right? But what you're knowing is that the software is constantly asking you the right questions for you not to forget anything. And then we've also got that aerated block. We've got a dense block, but if I scroll down, we've now got our 215 dense hollow block or a dense block laid flat. So I can also pop that in there as well if I wished. All right. And then I can just draw this one in. And I can place that down there as well. Once that's all there, what I'm now going to do is I'm going to highlight it and set it as non-estimated. So if I highlight all of it with a click of my middle mouse button, I can set item as non-estimated. If you don't like that function, highlight everything, go to modify and selection, and selection non-estimated symbols. Okay, click yes. And what you're going to see is that highlighted hatching, that we call it, disappears. So you can now see that's completely clear. So that's no longer going to be estimated. But what is the key thing to note about this is that it's not estimated up to this point. So any decoration that you're going to be doing to these walls, any plastering, any chasing of these walls, that's all going to be estimated afterwards. All right, so you have that available. Once you have that done, you can now add on your extension. So again, we would go to the architectural, we'd go external walls, double leaf external wall. We have the option available again. We have brick and block, strip foundation, the relevant height. I'm going to show a shallow strip foundation now. I'm going to change the cavity to what I need it to be, the internal leaf to what I need it to be, and then the price of the brick that I need it to be. All right. Once we have there, I can go into the foundation details if I wish. So we have a 600 wide foundation, 900 deep, 400 mil structural concrete thickness. All right. And as you're probably thinking, well, that's pretty standard. It's building regulation. And it is. The software will always start with building regulation. It will keep it in building reg. Okay. So you're not missing anything out. Once we click OK, we now have that option available to drag that to this corner, all the way down and to the side. And as you can see now, we've got that pink line that's going around the edge. That's indicating the width of our foundation. All right. Just going to right click. It's going to pop it away. And if I go to views in 3D and 3D preview, we've now got that first floor and that shape. All right. Now, I don't know how long it takes you to estimate walls, all right, depending on your skill set. But what you should just bear in mind right now is that if you were only asked, and I don't know why a client would ask this, to estimate the foundations, the footings, the internal leaf, external leaf, plastering, decorating, skirting board of all of these walls, these 3 walls here, including all the labor, all the plant, and obviously the material that you're going to need, the software would have done all of that for you when you import that into EstimatorXpress. So all of those elements have now been estimated to their full capacity for you to just be able to go click. I just want to know how much I've got to order of each option. All right. So that's why it's so important using this package as well. Now I'm just going to pause there before I go on to the next option. I do see the questions flickering, so I'm just going to see how these look. So I'm going to try anyway. We can go there. Do we have any questions?
No, you're all good for questions at the moment, Matt.
Oh, we don't have any questions. Okay, that was just flashing for the sake of it flashing. Brilliant.
You're all
okay.
good.
Fantastic. So what we've now got here, all right, is we've got that shape. I'm going to put down a floor. I'm going to do the internal walls. I'm going to knock through as well. And then we can do some renovation options also before going to the first floor. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is back to the architectural. And now we can start looking at the flooring. But first, what I want to do is go to external works and landscaping. And I'm going to just strip the site. So we're going to strip the site by hand with a JCB, with a mini digger. I'm going to say it's going to be a mini digger. And then we have the option of existing ground level to topsoil for storage on site. And then we've also got soil for removal from site. Now, we're not teaching you again how to suck eggs, but we have an option down here that says show tech tips. Click that there. Every box that you click in the top right-hand corner is going to tell you exactly what you're going to be doing. So you can see these options available. So I'm just going to zero this one out because that's irrelevant. And I'm going to take 100 mil of soil from the top of the site. I'm going to take it away from site. We then have the options of saying Again, is it going to be with a JCB, a mini digger, or is it going to be done by hand? I said it's going to be done with a mini digger. It's going to ask, do you want to have any days of banksman there as well? I'm going to say yes. Just the 1 day. This should be stripped from site pretty easily. Number of weeks for the dumper required. It says weeks, but I am just going to say the 1. All right. Because it's not going to charge for an entire week, because we can change that later on in EstimatorXpress. But as long as it's clicked, it's going to pull that information into Estimator. Click finish. And then again, software down, command window, it's going to ask us to select the area that we want to chop away. And as you're seeing here, we are getting these hatch symbols. All right, so this then does progressively stack the further we go along. From there, we then have our flooring. So we have rectangular suspended floors, floor cassettes, beam and block flooring, floor slabs, basement floors. We then can go to floating floors, your screeding, solid wood flooring, wood laminate flooring as well. So we can do all of these options depending on what we want. I'm going to select a standard slab here. So I'm going to go with a floor slab extension. I'm going to select reinforced. So we have 150mm sub base, standard, 25mm sand, and we have 175mm slab, because we are taking into consideration that we have the reinforcement in here as well. But we might just go, actually, you know what, 175 is overkill. I'm going to go with 115. Is there insulation to the underside of the slab? Yes, there is. Is there reinforcement to the bottom? Is there reinforcement to the top? Is it power float finished? Yes or no? Again, we have the ShowTech tips and ShowTech label options. And as you can see here, the image doesn't change. The image doesn't change because we just didn't find it relevant to add in multiples, of images to confuse you. But if I just click ShowTech tips and ShowTech labels, now what you can see is that this is a concrete slab, this is your sound blinding, this is your sub base, quite self-explanatory in that. It's got the location here, and if I click that box, it tells me that's sub base. Pretty simple. But if you look at the sound blinding, next option we go into, we've got your insulation, damp-proof membrane, top reinforcement, bottom reinforcement. So these options are being selected as well, so we can see everything. It doesn't matter that this looks incredibly thin in comparison to the slab. That will automatically calculate 100mm insulation. All right. Once I click finish, again, I can drop that in here and pop that in place. And more hatching. Now you do have an option of whether or not you want to actually calculate the labor and the plant now, or you can do it in EstimatorXpress. It's entirely up to you. If you want to do it here, under the flooring, under the floor slabs, we've now got plant for the floor slab. So it's going to ask us the question of time required by the excavator. We don't need to worry about that now. Plate compactor, how many days? I'm just going to say we'll have it on site for 2 days. Wheelbarrow, again, 2 days. Shovel, 2 days. Bolt croppers, 2 days. Vibrating, concrete vibrator, if we need it, 1 day. Okay, so you've got these options available for yourself. You can click finish, and then instead of it drawing, it's just going to have it written, and we can have that there. So that's now been estimated for our plant and our labor. What we're now going to drop on is your perimeter insulation. So again, we've got flooring, floor slabs, perimeter insulation, the depth, and we can draw this out. All right. Finally, we're going to finish with our screeding. We've got the screed thickness, so we've got 50mm, which is standard, but a lot more people are actually going to be going for 75mm. Don't know whether there's been a major change in the building regulation, but I'm seeing this more and more. Whether or not we're going to be needing a wheelbarrow for the screed as well, screed pump, I am going to say yes. Again, 2 days worth. And then we just drop that in here as well. I know it's repetitive, but it's exactly what we need to be doing multiple times to make sure that we are doing this work. Internal walls, what I can see here is that that is a sliding door. So I'm going to presume that this is going to be a timber wall. So I'm going to go with internal walls here. Single leaf internal wall. Choose wall specification. timber frame. Oh, we've got timber stud. It's more likely. We have 100 mil, no foundations, 2.4. And then we can see that we're happy whether it's going to be acoustically insulated, or we can go with thermally insulated. It really depends on what you want to go with when it comes to it. That main difference is it's going to be either rock wool or it's going to be hard insulation. All right. Once we're happy with that, we can drop that in number 1 and number 2. And even here, what we can do is that if I just wanted to draw in this option now, I could pop that in. I could even, if I wanted to, keep these sections completely separate. So I'm going to be very anal about what's going to be done with these. And then I can set these 2 items as non-estimated. However, if this was me estimating for a client, what I would have done is I would have drawn that entire section in, because the difference in cost is going to be so minimal that having to zoom all the way in to just set items as non-estimated can sometimes be a bit of a pain. All right, so you have those options available again. Once we have that, we can go views in 3D, 3D preview, and you can see now that we are building up quite the option. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw in my second floor. I know this is quite off the cusp before I start dropping in doors and windows, but I just want to get my shape available. So what I now want to do is I want to go to levels here. So I'm already on my views in 3D, and then we've got the wall height 2.5, but I'm actually going to change that to 2.625 because of that second floor. Click OK. And now the important thing to remember here is when it's asking for a reference point, you select a part of the build that never moves from top to bottom. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select this point, which is the external part of the house, and then it says give the first point for your box to be defined, and you just click once and you draw a box around your existing drawing. Now here's the fun bit. This is where you can cheat. All right, saves you a lot of time. I'm just going to drop in an external wall here. Well, not an external wall, sorry, a construction line there to follow that line. And what I can do is I can just click this pink line once, click my middle mouse wheel, and just go copy selection. With that in mind, it's going to ask me to select my reference point, which is there. And I've got this big old box that I can drop over. And now it's asking me what's the base height, what's the wall height. Do I need to pull in my internal walls as well? Yes or no. Do I need to bring in my flooring? Yes or no. And then what I can do is I can just remove those internal walls, click OK. And now what I have is that external wall. All right. And I can just remove this information there. With that 3D preview, we've now got that height that we need. Okay. Once we have that, we can then start saying, okay, I need this wall to be brick and block. So you can do this one of 2 ways. You can select the wall, mouse click, modify, and you can change this external leaf to block with render. It's entirely up to you. I find that a little bit too long-winded. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select, but not before putting in my construction line. I'm just going to get rid of these walls. I'm just going to delete them. So they're gone now. And then I can go to my external walls, double leaf external wall. And now what I can do is I can go rendered block and block. I'm going to select strip foundation, It's absolutely fine, because what I'm now going to do is I'm just going to set no foundation or footings. Okay, I have my height. I can click select. I can go through my details. I can change my internal wall. Again, you could have done this all previously, but I'm just going to make sure that this is all correct. And once that's correct, my general details are correct as well. I'm now going to drop in my external walls, and this is why the construction lines are so important, because now what I can do is I now have that on there as well. Okay, with my roof, I can then start looking at my roof pitches. So I have my existing roof, and then I can tie a roof on. So as we can see, we have a hipped roof here. Now what I'm going to see now is that, is this going to tell me anything about my pitch? No, it's not. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove all of these construction lines. I'm going to add one on to the edge here, which is a little cheat that I use. And then what we can do is we can go scan and trace, import drawing. It's going to be the PDF. This time I'm going to go for the elevations. I'm going to pull in the best option of that. And then as I know the whole width of the drawing, I know that's to scale without having to think about anything additional to that. And to find the pitch of this roof, even sometimes I forget how to do this, okay, is that we have one end, another end, a flat line, which is quite handy. And now what we can do is we have an angular option available. And now we have this triangle that's following the edge of that roof. Now, again, I know this is a lot of information to take in. It does become second nature, all right? And we do train you in this package if you were to go on and purchase, all right? But
Matt,
what
just
you're
before
gonna...
you go on, sorry, Matt,
Yep.
just on this question from Darren. Why did you change the floor level height?
When, at which point, when I changed the floor level between the ground floor and the first floor, when I click copy.
Possibly.
All right, let's just see if Darren can elaborate on that with a moment.
Was that also to allow for floor joists as well, as his follow-up question?
Yes, yes, it absolutely is.
Perfect.
All right. So when I was copying, if I just copy this again, take this point, move it over here. I will delete this option in a moment, but we can see that that's going to be the external wall there. So the base height of the wall, as you can see now, is 5.250. So the reason why we're changing this floor level is because we're now going to be building from this point. So the software knows that it's going to be higher than the original build. All right. So all you ever have to worry about is your wall height here. Okay. And that way then we can make sure that the wall heights are correct as well, because you might get to 2.5 stories, 1.5 stories, and this is when this does come into consideration. Okay, so we're just going to exit that. To get the pitch of that roof, now that I've drawn my lines in, okay, so we have this triangle here. What we're going to do is go to drawing and annotation, angular dimension, and then what you do is you can just click the corners, and I can see that I've got a 32.5 degree pitch on this roof, so an awkward degree of pitch. All right, but once we know that, we can now build that in. So as we can see here is if I just chose to have a nice flat roof. Well, not a flat roof per se, but I'm going to choose, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just trying to work something out. Yep, this is where I'm going to go. What we're now going to do is we're going to, have I accidentally deleted that? No, I haven't. I'm losing my mind. Terribly sorry, everyone. So I'm just going to click that, highlight, copy selection, take my point, move it over here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this wall height as 0. And you're going to see why in a second. And we've now got this shape available for us as well. Once that shape's available for us, what we're going to do is we're going to put in an existing roof. So we have a tiled roof. We have a 30-degree pitch here, but I'm going to change that to 32.5. So I'm just going to go 32. Oh, nope, 32.5. There we go. We can go through the soffit, the rafter details as well. We can go to the flat gablet details depending on what we're going to be using, tiling and insulation information, roof finishes. Then we have the hipped roof, apex roof, apex roof with a barn hip, depending on what we're going to be building. I'm going to go with a hipped roof right now, and I'm going to go draw a rectangular section of roof. Once we have that there, again, we're just going to give the first corner point, and this is going to be, again, the existing roof. So I'm going to draw that in here. And then we can put a ceiling in there if we wish. We can do whatever we want. Now, you're probably looking at that going, well, that doesn't look like the right bloody shape. Again, you're absolutely right. We go to roofs and attics, and we make one side a gable. Okay. Now, it looks a little bit off because what we have here is that front section of the roof of the house. That's coming all the way up. As I'm not doing any elements of that particular part of the roof, I'm just going to ignore it. But I know my roof pitch is going to be accurate if I drag this down. All right, and I'm going to do that in a second. Now what I want to do is I want to select that roof option again, and this time select my hip roof. You set this roof as non-estimated first, Matt. That would have been an issue, wouldn't it? Set as non-estimated. Yes. Select the icon. Select my hipped roof. Draw a rectangular roof. And what we now have here is that built in, and we can do a flat ceiling now as well, depending on what we want to build. And we can draw that flat ceiling in here as well. And we have that in there. And we do have options for going with wall plates, binders, purlins, your rainwater pipes as well. So with your rainwater pipes, ask for the gutter end stops, pipe fixings, and we can place these wherever we see fit. Okay. And if I look at the views in 3D and the 3D preview, we have that roof on there nice and tight as well. Okay. Now this top roof does look slightly silly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these over so this looks a little bit more accurate, because this could be something that your client does want to have a look at the end as well. So I'm just going to remove these. I'm going to say I want to draw using this specification. Pop that in there. And set that as non-estimated. All right, we can do it again with the front. Draw using this specification. place, set as non-estimated. And before you know it, that actually looks completely different. All right. So we have that in there as well. We have the infill that we need. And I can change this image if I wanted to. We can go for more of a solid image, textured, blocked, or see-through. Depends on how we want it to look. Okay. And with that roof at the very end as well, what I can do here is I can grab both roofs and I can drag that out depending on how far that needs to go. So we can then have that overhang as well this time here in comparison to the back. Does anybody have any questions about elevations or how the roof goes on? I'll give you a moment to type.
Question. Oh, quick question coming through for you, Matt. I know it's not part of the extension, but how would you draw the bay window?
How would I draw the bay window? So what we have here is we have the architectural tab, and under windows, we can go down, we have our bay windows here, and we can draw them in place like that. All right, so we can then start looking at whether they're going to be hardwood, whether they're going to be sash, Georgian, horizontal bay. We then have the option of their sizes as well, depths, and the angles of how it's going to be coming out of that particular wall as well. All right.
Perfect. And if you're doing you're using this software at home, we do, again, as we have mentioned at the start, we do have the support team available throughout the day, 9 to 5. So if you are drawing anything like that and you actually need to just run through and double check anything that you're doing, the team are on hand to support you with that. And there's another question for you, Matt, as well. How do you extend the roof line? Get what you're doing, but it's how it's done, i.e. what controls or commands.
Okay, so
specifically how what commands to actually extend the roof line.
So as my example of what we've just done here, so the extending of the roof line, if I've selected this and I've pulled it back, is that the question at all? Is that how we're looking at this? Because once you know the perimeter of your existing roof and the perimeter of the new roof, what you're going to find here is when you select your roof, all right, you have these options that come up, these blue lines that create points, okay, and you can see them all around the perimeter of your roof. If you select a middle blue box, you can drag the entire roof line to wherever you see fit. If you select a corner point, you can imagine it's going to come all the way out and it's going to look bloody dreadful. All right, so you can do that as well. Once you have that shape, you can play with this and you can make that roof any shape you want. I could, even at this moment here, even though that is a hipped roof that we have built up, all right, under the roofs and attics, I can make that a barn hip, I can make it a gable hip, I can make it a gable if I wished. I can just highlight that, I can select it. So even if you feel like you've made a mistake, you haven't. Okay, the software's there to be able to change everything you needed to change. I need you to go back just that little bit further. Perfect.
And that's just a normal left mouse click, isn't it? There's nothing.
And that is normal left mouse click, dragging and dropping to make sure that everything is correct.
Perfect.
All right.
2 more questions just come in.
Yep.
One of them is, can we have a copy of PlansXpress to practice? So on answer to that one, Ahmet, stay to the end, and we'll give you Matt's contact details and speak to Matt, and Matt will be able to sort you out with what we can do around trials and purchasing the software, things like that. And one more question. Where can you check what you included in the estimate and what you didn't include?
So that is a question that's going to come up very shortly. So you're going to see what's going to be estimated and what hasn't been estimated, and I'll show you what happens if you've forgotten something as well.
See, that's the sort of questions we like there, ones that we're already about to answer. I like that. Great question.
So what we can now do here, I'm just going to add in my sliding door. I'm going to do this knock through. I'm going to add in a window so you can see the processes. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into EstimatorXpress, because I appreciate it's 8 o'clock now. We've spent a lot of time in PlansXpress. You want to see how EstimatorXpress is, how it's going to work with this as well. All right. So firstly, internal sliding door, architectural. We have our doors here. We can go internal doors, and when you highlight the internal doors, you now have the options of fire doors, pocket doors, existing wall, or new wall. If it's into a new wall, we can say the width of the door, the height of the door, whether or not it's a fire door. When we have that selected, do we need a combination lintel? Do we need 1 loose steel, 2 loose steels? Do we need concrete lintel? And a combination lintel is a catnip lintel. That would be overkill for this. All right. You might not even need an additional lintel for this. All right. Or you could just be happy with a concrete lintel as well. And what you're going to see here is that the software's already pulled in the right size lintel that you would need. So this is a 762 millimeter wide door. You've got that going into a wall. So you're going to need double the space, which is going to be 1400 to 1500 wide. And then what you've got is you've got that 150 mil either end, but it's overcompensated for that. So it's now gone for 2.1. All right, you're going to see here for internal doors, that's what it does. For windows, it goes for the traditional 150 mil either side. Okay, so we've selected that there. We've got the depth of the reveal. We've got the width of the door, the height of the door, the overall lintel detail as well. And then I can place that door as I see fit. So we now have that door there. When it comes to the structural opening, what I can do here is I can get my linear dimension out, because I know the first knock through is going to be this option here. So I'm going to click between these 2 points. And I've now got that distance of 2758. We've not got any structural information here, so that's not a problem at all. But what I will do is I'm going to go to openings and steelwork, and I can go to structural opening to an existing wall, or I can draw my own beams in as well. So if I go structural opening to an existing wall, it's going to ask us what we need. Do we need 2 steels, 1 steel? Again, that same question. And then we've also got universal columns, steel beams in here. So I'm just going to select your standard 178, 102, 19 steel. Okay, not heavyweight, but enough to be able to hold up a couple of leaves. I'm going to do that twice. We've got those steels there. It's asking us about the width. So I'm just going to go 2.75 if I wanted to be overly accurate. It's entirely up to me. We have the height. We have the lintel end bearing. And again, if I show tech tips and show tech labels, it's telling me all of that information when I'm clicking these options. Are pad stones required? Yes or no? If they are, brilliant. If not, how many bricks are you going to be using? Are you going to be plastering these options? And then spacing of support props as well. Strong boys, disc cutters, acro props, depending on what you're going to be using as well. Once we have that, I can hover my mouse in there, click that, and now we have that opening come through. All right. If you were to say that this was actually going to be knocked down and this was going to just be a steel that you wanted to draw in, we do have these options available where we have steel beam. We can select a steel. I'm just going to use this universal column as a start. I can choose costs for fabrication, whether or not pad stones are required. A little bit of a different process to what we're usually seeing. Okay, but again, plant options. But this time what I can do is I can actually draw in the stills myself. So if we were going to have 2 stills coming through, we can do that instead. This works out quite handy if you have stills holding up extremely large roof windows. So what you would do is instead of you doing knock-throughs, you're actually drawing in the costs of those steels instead. All right. And at the very end, we've got this window. I'm just going to draw linear dimensions so I can get the distance of this window. I think it's probably going to be 1200 standard window, 1255. So what we can do now is we can go to architectural, windows into an existing wall or windows into a new wall. It's going to be a cavity wall. We then have the option of aluminium, UPVC, softwood, hardwood, aluminium clad as well. We then have different options available depending on what we want to work with. I'm going to select this one here. We have different colors: black, anthracite, iris oak, green, red, depending on what you want to have it look like. We then have the opening type, so I'm going to select this option here. So it's going to be double openers. And then we also have opening width. We have a series of drop downs for you, but screw that. I've got 1255. There's my window right there. We've got the height. We've got the cost of £480 for this anthracite grey window. And what that information is going to do is going to take it through to EstimatorXpress. And as you can see here, we've got PVCU, double glazed, 1.4 casement window, anthracite grey, distances. And we can change the size even now. We can even go opener width. We can change which one's going to be larger or smaller as well. And we also have a price. If you're not happy with the 490, I can go 700. It's entirely up to me what I want to price it at as well, depending on what you're going to be doing for your client. This is when you're probably going to be using your combination lintel, your catneck. We have that 1650 there as well. All right. Cavity closes. Height from the top of DPC, 2.1, which is your standard height. We have your fixing details as well. So you've got your direct fix screws. And then you've also got your plastering, making good, seal details. And then I can place that in here. I can even go over here. I can drop it again. Oh, they don't match. Typically, they don't match, do they? Oh, why wouldn't they match? And then what we can do now is we can go views in 3D, 3D preview, and we have that in there as well. And if I were to turn this, we can see that we've got our knock through and we've got our door here as well. So we can see we've got all of these options. What I'll now do is I'm going to save this. I'm going to save it under the webinar. And I'm going to take this into EstimatorXpress and show you how it's priced it. All right.
Just before you do that, Matt, so one of the questions we had was when was the last PlansXpress update out? So I've shared in the answers to the chat. I've shared it with everyone because I think it's hopefully useful information. Hopefully those links are clickable for you to be able to see what was included in all the updates we've done over the years and what's included in the last update. Within that as well, if you are struggling at all, please do just call in. Just go on the website, and if you go into user zone, help resources, you'll be able to see all the updates there. So you'll be able to see everything from estimator plans through to build projects and everything through there. So yeah, if you do want to look at anything that's been out in the latest updates, we have a new one out next month as well.
Perfect. So now that that's saved, I'm going to go into EstimatorXpress. But before I do that, I'm going to show you a couple of things first. Number one, what this looks like finished. All right, so this is a job that has already been estimated by myself for a client. So we can see that we've got our knock-throughs, our bifolds. We've got what we would have done there, which is rip down the ceiling and replace the ceiling with insulation. And if I go to views in 3D and 3D preview, what would actually happened is when it came to this job, the client asked for it to be brick on the top floor as well. Okay, but you can see what has been estimated as well. All right. Once we have that there, we also have options for your electrics and your plumbing. So we have these sectioned for you as well to give you a starting point to then build on. And what you also have as well is that if you wanted to do this from a design point of view, what you can then do is do your own designs as well. So what you have here is you have your elevations to the scale, you have your water network maps, you have your side elevations, existing drawings, along with all the relevant information that's built up here. We can then change the layout from existing drawings to proposed drawings. So now we can see that this is going to be a loft conversion. The software is pulled in building regulation notes from EstimatorXpress. We have the relevant pitch, we have the new elevation or proposed elevation, and the height of the dormer. And we can even go into the sections of our drawing as well, based on how this is going to be built up with the walls as well, including plan notes, if you wish to do that. Now, hopping into EstimatorXpress, you're now looking at the estimating side of the software. What you are now going to see is our flagship product. We've been on the market for 25 years. All right. So this is actually something that we've been working on since Christ, while I was in school, really. It started off and was designed by a structural engineer, and that was then progressed through to what you now see today. When you first turn on the software, you're going to be greeted with your previous estimates. If this is brand new to your estimating software, this is going to be nice and blank. Over on the left-hand side, you have your jobs. If you don't like how this image looks, you can click jobs, and you can see a list of all your existing clients. As you can see here, I've done a fair few estimates for the company. So a lot of these things is self-explanatory. When you're looking at your library, there's only 3 options that you really need to be aware of: your price books, your overhead profit and inflation, and your reports. So these are the 3 most important items in this. The more you get to know the software, the more you'd be going into estimating calculators, the more you can then dictate your favorite merchants. Now, firstly, overhead profit and inflation. This one's quite self-explanatory. This is the markup you want to be sticking on top of your estimating. So this is going to be overhead and profit. As you can see, we've got that defaulted to 35% markup. Now, this is pretty much what we're finding within the UK. Anywhere between 30 to 45% markup on your jobs is pretty standard now. All right. The reason why we have this in place is because anything close to or below 20%, anything can go wrong in your business, and that could bankrupt you, and we don't want that to happen. So we are helping you take the plunge to estimate, to make these decisions. All right. And we are there to help you, to guide you, to answer any of your questions as well. We also have affiliates that can actually help you get work if you are looking for larger scale jobs as well. Okay. If you want to change any of this, nice and easy, just highlight and you can change that as well. Nice and simple. Back to the library, we then have your price books. We have material, labor, plant, subcontract, and sundry. If I hop into labor first, you can see all the tradesmen that we have within this software. Now, to give you a breakdown of how this has all been built up, so many of you, depending on your age, might have remembered Spons books. You might have heard of Spons books, and that's how our estimating really began, and that's how the industry did follow suit. Spons then evolved into the standard method of measurement, SMM, that then had 7 variations, so SMM 7, which is something that you might have heard. And then what happened is that then evolved again to the newer rates of measurement, or new rates of measurement, NRM, and we are now on a second version of that. Now, I know that's a lot of nonsense really, for anybody that's trying to think about why do they estimate the way that we do, how do we get the prices the way that we price, how do we get the timelines the way that we get our timelines. And that is all based off of that information, that maths. All right, so what I'm going to do is later on, I'm going to show you how that maths looks. It's irrelevant because you won't be changing it much, if any, but it's to show you how it's being done. All right, but that also answers the question as to why we are pricing when you see these trades by the hour. Okay, so what you want to do is, if you're paying you guys by the day, which is more often than not what you're doing, just divide that day rate by 8 and stick that price into the software. So if you're paying you guys £200 a day, that's a nice bit of maths. 200, that'll be £25 an hour. All you've got to do is right click, edit the resource, change that to £25, click OK. We now have that £25 an hour. It's also going to timestamp it for you. So we, as you can see here, is we've got the 23rd of the 4th, 2025. So you can at least see the last time that you updated these prices. Okay, so you've got that available. I'm going to change that back though, because I need it to be relevant for what I'm doing. And you can do that with Bricklayers Mates, Bricklayer to Mate. You can create your own. You can generate new resources if you want to have people by name. Barry and Bob, why not? You could do that in there. Together, they're £60 an hour. We can click that in there. And now we're going to have Barry and Bob within the software as well. All right. So we do have those options available if we need them as well. Okay. Going into plant, we've then got wear and tear costs and rental costs. So we're now going to be looking at congestion charges if you get affected by those. We've also got sink protectors. I can go down further. We then have grab lorries, plasterboard skips, roll and roll off skips, traditional domestic skips, large van, medium van, small van mileage as well. We can go down even further. We can go with daily parking fees, skip ramps, acro props, strong boys, you name it, it's in there. The software has it, and we are charging your client wear and tear because sooner or later you're going to put a pickaxe into the ground, it's going to bounce off some concrete, and then what's going to happen? The head's going to snap off. You're going to go out and spend 60, 70 quid on a new pickaxe. Now, that shouldn't be coming out of your pocket. That should come out of overhead price. This is where we have that built into the software. All right. Lastly, we have material. This is going to be as accurate as you need it to be. All right. So if you're going to be looking for, say, insulation, type in insulation, and it's going to give you all the options for insulation in the software. Now, you might just think, Christ, I just want this to be a little bit more accurate. If I just go rock wool, we're now going to isolate it down to 2 items out of a catalogue of about 19,000 materials that are in the software. Okay, and I've been able to isolate it.
So just before you go into that, there's a couple of questions around the rates.
Yep.
So if you change the rates, are they job specific or do they stay at that level over future jobs?
So they will stay like that. That will be your default labor rate here. What you can do, and it's quite a smart question to ask actually, is that you have the master price book, which is all of these options, and these are going to be a default pricing. What you can do is, if I right click, you can copy a price book. It's going to duplicate everything in there, but then you can change the prices of your tradesmen as well. So what you can then do and what you can then have are 2 different teams, 3 different teams, depending on what you want it to use, but you can multiply it and have as many price books as you wish. Okay.
Perfect.
And you can change every labor rate in the job as well.
Perfect. And then the other question, I'm pretty sure you answered. Can you just enter daily rates, as most trades will only do day rates? And you answered that already.
Yep. And with the rounding function, the software will round it to the days for you as well, which is something we'll see in a moment.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Back to the library. Lastly, you've then got your reports, and these are the reports that the software is going to generate for you for every estimate. So you've got painting costs all the way through to plant used, labor used, materials used. So if I just go into materials used, this is going to bring up a hypothetical job right now. Thank you. There we go. So what it's going to do here, it's going to say in your brickwork shell, this is all the material you're going to need for your brickwork shell. This is how much you're paying for it. This is how you buy it. And then you've got the options of going, this is what it is excluding wastage. This is the wastage that's going to be applied. This is what the amount you're going to need, including wastage. And then you have their costs available as well. The reason why we have the 3 columns for each, for amount, wastage quantity, amount including wastage, and then the pricing elements of those 3 columns, is because there could be some items that you think, you know what, I'm not going to order that much. You might just go, you know what, I'd rather not. When you see, say, your bricks, that you're going to need 15,297 bricks, 764 bricks are going to be costed as wastage. Okay, so we've got a 5% wastage on bricks. Now you might be thinking, Christ, I've got to order an extra 800 bricks because 800 of them are going to be broken. Likelihood's probably not. So what you could do here is you can then just start doing some personal management of that as well. Again, the software will round all of this material for you, so you're not going to have 0.19, 0.18, 61. It's going to give you whole numbers, and you're going to see that in a moment as well. All right. But what we want to do is we want to see now this import. So we're going to go to dashboard. We're going to go create new job. Quote from PlansXpress import. I'm going to select my webinar. It's going to, oh, I don't know why it's done that. Hold on one moment. I can get away with that. That's not a problem at all. So what we now have is we have the job name, which is webinar, job description. I can start typing in extension. It's going to populate extension for me. The price book is going to be the master price book. Estimating calculators. So going back to when does this tell you what you've estimated and what you haven't estimated, you're going to be able to see that from the PlansXpress import. I'm going to just choose Hess estimate though, just for the sake of this, okay, for the sake of this question. We then have the specification. So we have extension specification, external wall brickwork. I can choose a price, or I can just go with the price that I selected earlier on. Roof tiling, I can now start selecting whether or not it's going to be slate, whether it's going to be pan tile, double Roman, depending on what I want to use. Roof guttering, we have aluminium, cast iron, zinc, steel, plastic, depending on what you want to use. Flat roof waterproofing, if there was going to be a flat roof element here, you can then start selecting basic felt, EPDM, GRP fiberglass, premium felt, single ply, depending on what you want to use. Fascia barge boards and soffits for sloped roofs and for flat roofs. So we've got the UPVC, but softwood is available as well if you're going to be working on cottages. Dormer wall tiling. So we then have the pan tile, plain, slate. Suspended floor joists. We then have standard timber joists, metal web, ply web, depending on what we want to work with. Decoration, we could just say no decoration across the job. The client's going to do that themselves. Plant and labor for the excavation. We have already said we're going to be using a mini digger, but you could be in a situation where it's only going to be a manual digger. So you have to go in there with a Kango and a shovel and a lot of enthusiasm. Once you have that selected, I'm just going to choose mini digger now. We have review profit markup, review inflation rates. So it's just going to give you these options that we chose earlier on. And as you can see here, we've got material, 35%. I'm just going to change that to 20%. Okay, so I can change it again. Create new job. It's going to generate this quote for us. This is everything that we've pulled in that we're going to estimate. And it's going to give us a breakdown of what that extension is going to cost us at this moment in time. So just give it a moment. So we've got 12 items that we're going to be estimating. Right now we have £42,779 and 90 pence. And we can see here that the majority of the price is going to be the masonry shell, and that's £13,617 and 40 pence. Don't ask me why, but above the progress option, that's why it's showing the price there. I don't know what's done that for. It's probably something that's going on with my computer right now. So what you can now see down the left-hand side is you have, say, lintels below ground if you're going to be doing any drainage that you didn't want to do in EstimatorXpress. There we go. I don't know why it did that, but I can pull that back now. But what we can now do is we could choose the relevant lintels, their heights. We can go through the width, the foundation that's going to be going involved with them as well, the footings that are going to be sat on top, and how it's going to be finished. And then we have that in there as well. And if you said, well, I'm going to need 2 of these, where it says number of groups of items, just go 2. Nice and easy, nice and simple. But you might be going through this list and going, hold on a minute. Oh, Christ, I've forgotten all my electrics. What you do now is you go back into EstimatorXpress, PlansXpress, sorry. And then you drop in, I'm just going to go with entrance hall and dining room. I'm going to copy these. I'm going to place these. So what we can now see here is we've got 5 double sockets, a double socket with a USB, a couple of ceiling rows, a few wall lights. I can even go and grab some downlighters as well if I wished. And I'm just copying with a Control C and placing with a Control V. And it's nice and simple. I can do the exact same for my drainage, for my plumbing as well. So we can do that. I click save. And once that's saved, you'll save in a second. There we go. Nice and saved. In EstimatorXpress, all I have to do now is click Estimate and import PlansXpress plan. Going to go back to my webinar, click OK. Now, what could have happened at this point is that I could have made a lot of changes before figuring out what I've forgotten. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is just unselect all estimated calculators so that all those ticks are now gone. And what I'm going to do is I'm now going to scroll through and find my electrics and plumbing. So I have heating system components. I'm going to bring that in. I've got my radiators, my radiator tails, smoke alarms, internal lighting, my front door, my electrical sockets. I can leave out the gas fire if I don't need it, and the gas pipe work if I don't need it. I can click OK. That's now added on £2,180.36 to the cost of my job, and I'll now see those calculators are now added in there as well. So if you're making mistakes, don't worry about it. There are always chances for you to be able to go back, alter, bring in, and price.
Matt, another question has just come in for you. Where are you pulling those selections from? Are they from the templates? Are they templates?
The selections of the electrics and plumbing, yes. So what you're finding here is when you look at the versions of our software, when you have electrical and plumbing templates, this is what you're looking at right now. Okay, so you have that available for you. You could drag, drop. You can then elaborate because you do have electrical and plumbing up at the top, and you can start dropping in multiple smoke alarms, fuse spares, electric underfloor heating systems, different electrical sockets, different external lighting, fire alarm systems. So we also have that available if you're going to be working on HMOs. We have all of this available for you, including emergency lighting bulkheads as well. And then under plumbing, it builds up depending on how much you want to go through. Okay, so you have all of that available. You don't have to use the templates if you don't want to. It's all available there if you need it.
And again, Matt, so you can add these in using PlansXpress and choose whether they're estimated or not, and then ultimately, and decide whether you want to estimate them in Estimator or have them pulled across from Plans.
Absolutely, yes. Or if you don't want to go back into EstimatorXpress, into PlansXpress, sorry, that's absolutely fine, because on estimating calculators, what you can now see here is all the same options as you had within PlansXpress. All you have to do is just click the drop down, and if you're going to be chasing walls, you didn't want to do that in PlansXpress, you can now do that in Estimator here instead.
Yeah, so two follow-up questions just on that quickly. So where are all those templates found? And the other one is, I have Takeoff at the moment. Are they not on that program?
So they're not on Takeoff. They are on premium version of EstimatorXpress, and you'll be able to find them if you go new from template, draw plans from scratch. They'll be on the second page.
So as you can see, plans premium for those.
That is the premium version of EstimatorXpress. If you want them in Takeoff, you can absolutely add them into Takeoff. I can't remember how much it is, but it's not an astronomical figure. Okay, so you can add them into your version of the software if you don't want to go all the way for plans premium as well. Okay.
Yes. So at the end, I'll share Matt's contact details with you then, so you can then discuss that there. So there's like a little sort of not a bonus pack anymore, but there's like a little bolt-on that we can add to there. And yeah, you can look at upgrading options as well. So I think it's worth then probably following on from this to make sure we focus on the time here. Yeah, you can definitely have a look at a number of options and how you can get those in.
Perfect. Okay, in Estimator, what I can then do is I can then start tweaking everything that I've already done. So if I go to that 2-leaf external wall, I can go for the brick block cavity wall or the rendered block cavity wall, depending on what I want to draw. Or, sorry, I want to tinker with. We've then got the length of the walls, the height of the walls, all the relevant information that we need to look at as well. Now, you might see something here that says calculated resources 585. Now, you're not going to be looking at 585 different resources. It's just relevant lines of information that can be pulled in from all the options of what you can choose with these walls. Okay, but don't be scared by that number, because as you can see now, when I click it, that's not 600 lines of information. Okay. What we can now see is we have bricks above DPC, less openings for the outer leaf. That's a £1.20 brick. And if I just pull this box across, what we're going to see here is the information about this brick. So we have facing brick, material is brick. There's a 5% wastage, 60 bricks per square meter. So this is working out £72 per square meter. So you can see some quick maths here. And then you can see you're going to need 32.86 square meters, what the costs are, what the order quantities are as well. Now, you're not going to have to pull all the information from here to look at. All right. It's going to be in a much similar format, but you can see it all here if you want to make any changes, such as if I had to make this £90 per square meter, all I have to do is just right click, change the resource, go for a £1.50 brick, click OK. And if I just click back, we've now got £90 per square meter and the price of the job has gone up. All right. And as you can see here, we don't have wastage on every item, and the wastage factors do change on items as well. So if I looked at the insulation, that 5% goes to 10%. On boilers, it's 0%, because at the end of the day, if you have 10% wastage on a boiler, you've got a broken boiler. So we don't have that in there, and you'll see these options fluctuate through. Now, the maths I was telling you about earlier on was 2 bricklayers and a mate here. I'm going to just show you this. If I go right click and edit the resource, you've got an option here, and it says you've got 2 bricklayers and a mate. They're priced at £84 per hour. And then you have this little calculator here. Okay. If I click that, you can now see the industry standard of what the price is and how long it should take, sorry, for 2 bricklayers and a mate to lay square meterage wise in an hour. So I'm going to say that again because I cocked up my sentence there. You can now see in 1 hour how much square meterage of brickwork 2 bricklayers and a mate should be able to lay within an hour. All right. So that is 1.666667. Okay. And that is industry across. So your QSs, they all do the exact same maths. They all use something like this to tell you this is the answer and that's how special they are. It's not. We've just taken everything from a book, stuck it into a software. Okay. What you can do now is you can see that for laying brickwork, and it's just the external leaf of this wall, that's 32.86 square meters, and that's going to be charged at £1,656.14. The level of changing that you can go into this software can be monumental. You can change it down to the bottom nail to everything in a whole capacity. Okay, so if I wanted that to be closer to £2,000, I can just fiddle around with this number and it's slowly going to go up. Okay, so I can then go 1.3 maybe, no, 1.2, 1.1, okay, 1.4. And now I can then start tweaking this as well to make sure that that gets close to £2,000 for me. Again, like I said, you can tweak this as well as you want, okay? The likelihood is that you're never going to go into this option. So it's there if you want it, really. It's actually quite handy if you get snowed in or if there's some really difficult areas to get onto site. So give us a call. And if you're thinking, do you know what, this is going to take us twice as long to estimate, to build because of the complexity of the site, you could change that. You can add on the time. It's not a problem. Give us a call. We'll walk you through how to do it. We can help you do it. We can do it for you. All right. You've got all of that available at your disposal as a team. Okay. Once you're happy with that, you can then move on to the next line of information, and you would go from top to bottom, building up your estimate. Now, back at the main estimate, you do have assumptions and omissions that'll be stated on your quote, so you can type in whatever you like. Once you build up enough as well, you'll have a library of assumptions as well. Okay, so you can do that if you wish. Oh no, what's happened here? Hello, where are you? Terribly sorry, my software has decided to have a bit of a moment. One moment. One second.
It's always the way with these things, Matt. I think we've done quite well. Your machine's been on overdrive today, so almost to be expected.
That's it. Do you know what? It's slightly annoying, but it's not the end of the world. You're going to see what happens. As we've not done a lot, it's not a problem whatsoever. It's doing an update. Of course it's doing an update. Why wouldn't it do an update right now, right in the middle of an estimate? Of course.
So, one of the things, so if there is any questions that you do have while you're creating an estimate, is do drop us a message. Even if we're not online, you can use the chat functionality on the website, which is open 24 hours a day, and drop some messages in there, and we will come back to you as soon as humanly possible to answer any questions. Even if it's just actually, can you just have a look at, I've done something right, could you show me how, can it do this, can it do that? No question is too big or too small. I think that's something that we're really keen to help you guys as much as possible, because ultimately the more what we want to see is actually successful building companies. So well, as a bit of a random fact for you, so HBXL actually stands for Helping House Builders Excel, which is the name of the company, and that's sort of the ethos of everything behind what we do as well. So no question is too big or too small. Joe in particular, who's sort of our customer team, if you are a customer already, you will have probably spoken to him at some point and you would know how much he can help you.
Thank you for filling in that little gap there. So what you're going to now see, again, if I go to assumptions and omissions and add in an assumption from a library, that's exactly what should have happened. So what you'll then have are a list of your previous assumptions that you've already written down to be stated on your final quote for your client. All right, so we can see that the estimate does not include provision of temporary toilet, site cabin, site storage. It does include toilet, site storage as well. We've allowed for a trench fill with 625 mil of concrete. We've then got the options of, we've provided you 3D screen grabs, and we can just do multiple options as well. We've also got omissions. So you can then say we've excluded the wall tiling, the floor tiling, the sanitary ware and brassware, the kitchen fitting and such. So we can drop those in. So those are going to be dropped into our price. We also have the option of adding in provisional sums. So we can just go roof windows and we can then drop that into the software. We can give it a build phase as well. And we can also give it a location if we wished. And we can then price that at whichever price we wish to price that at. When it comes to looking at the information before you get all your whole numbers, what we're going to do is we're going to go to the estimate and we're going to go to resource quantity rounding. So what you're now going to see here is how the software works its resource rounding. Okay, so if I go to rules applied in job, so at this basic level, what you're now seeing is building sand bulk bag. You would need exactly 5.01 bags of building sand, ton of bag. Okay, with the wastage that's needed is going to take that up to 6.26. As you can't order 2.6 of a bag, we're going to round that up to 0.74. So you're going to order 7 bags, and that's going to add £44.35 onto the cost of your job. Now, what you might think is, do you know what? I don't need 7 bags. If it's telling me I practically only need 1, well, why don't I just order 6? So I can do a manual entry, change that to 6. It's taking 16 quid off the cost of your job, but then you'll be building this up over the course of the entire job. And you could do this after you've agreed with your client as well, the final price. I know that sounds kind of cheeky, but you can do all the rounding up so it all goes up to the highest number. And when it comes to your material ordering, you can then just scale back and go, well, actually, I'm going to go with 6 bags instead of 7. I'm going to go with 15,000 bricks instead of 16,800 and whatever. You can do that as well. And even for the minimal amount that we've estimated, with the rounding, it's going up by close to £1,000 at this moment in time. So we've only estimated 12 calculators in this, and it's gone up £1,000. Once you've done a full job, it's gone 30 different calculators. That's going to be closer to £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 of rounding for you. And this is what you're going to need within this software. And this is why sometimes you might be working so hard and thinking, why aren't I making any real money? Why aren't I taking those strides forward? And the software is going to do everything for you in black and white, because even in the back of your mind, when I speak to my builders, my clients about this all the time, you don't intentionally do it. You're trying to win work. Of course you are. So you're going to try and go, oh, I could probably get in with that little bit of a price as well. So I'm just going to shave a little bit off, shave a little bit off, and shave a little bit off. You do that over 1,000 materials. You've shaved 1,000 materials. You've dropped your job by about 10, 15K, because you know you could probably do it for that price. But is that going to make your business any more fruitful? Is that going to get you that holiday? Is it going to get you that car? Is it going to get you that van? Is it going to get you moving into your next home? And that's why you're doing it. That's why you work the hours that you do. That's why you labor the way that you do. Okay, and the software doesn't lie, which some people just don't like the answer to sometimes. Okay, so you have that available. Once you've done your entire job, the software is then going to generate a build program with all that math about how long it takes 2 bricklayers and mates to do their job. Okay, so what we can see here is we can now see this Gantt chart. It's nice and lovely. See, we have commencement, foundations, footings, oversight and slabbing through to the masonry shell, roof structure. You can even tweak this, because you might go, do you know what, that's starting in the middle of the month. Roof team aren't going to be able to get there until beginning of July. Let's just move that over to the beginning of July. And everything else transitions back. So it's project management as well. It's not the most detailed project management software in the world. We do have our own project management package. If you wanted to look at that, give us a call and we can demonstrate that for you. I won't be doing that tonight. But you can see here how that can transition and how you'll be able to job manage and company manage as well, including communicating with your client. You've also got the smart scheduler. Now, this is why the software sells like it sells, really. It's because at the end of the day, you've got all of that noise, all of that nonsense, and you kind of want to know what you have to buy and what you have to order for your site. Let's be honest, that's why you want the software. You want it to do that bit of labor for you. And if I go into materials by order date, what the software is going to generate is a nice piece of A4 paper, or quite a few pieces of A4 paper. In black and white, it tell you exactly what you've got to order, when you've got to order it, and what it's going to be used for. So it's going to say, okay, build face for the footings, bricks for the use in the splash course, engineering class A blue, 65 mil, 124. So you've got all your solid numbers here as well now. Facing bricks, 62, just for your footings. And it goes on, goes into the masonry shell, goes further, foundations, structural concrete. I need 3 tons of structural concrete. So it's going to do that for you. It's going to build this up further and further and further as well. Okay. And this is well, it's worth its weight in gold really for what it kind of gives you at the end of your job. At the very end, we have the quote that you can hand over to your client. So we can then say quote for the main estimate. We have extension for client not provided. We didn't pop in their details. You'll have an introductory statement that you can tweak to your own personal business. You'll have your assumptions and omissions stated, your provisional sums, summary of the overall job up to £77,471, and then it breaks it down in commencement, foundations, footings, oversight and slabbing. And if you can see here, if I look at foundations, you've got a brief description, the material, the labor, the plant that goes into it, and an overall cost. You might like this, you might not. If you don't like this, it's absolutely fine. We've got another option available for you. It's called the schedule of works quote. So the foundations look like that. If I scroll a little bit further down, this time what we're now going to be looking at, it's the same information, but it's now in more of a spreadsheet. So we've got a brief description of what's going to be dealt with, what you're using, and the prices allocated. And that's it. That's how it's going to be broken down. If you like how this looks and you're going, oh, but the color looks like I'm dealing with like a police team, then what I could do here is I could go to the table style. I can even change the colors to orange and green if I wished. I can apply the changes. I can save that to my library. It'll be my look, however I want it to be. And then you've now got somehow the Irish flag. I don't know how I've done that, but you've got that one in there as well. So you've got that available for yourself. Okay, so it builds up those quotes for you. If you don't like the schedule of works reports, that's absolutely fine. If you prefer Excel spreadsheets, you've got this as well. Okay, and what we can now do is we can go to, again, that materials used. Same report as we looked at outside. But now what you can see here is going to be relevant to this job. So we've got electrical first fix, electrical second fix. So there's items that I dragged in earlier on from my estimate that you saw. So as you saw, what I tweaked earlier on, even though my software crashed, it saved it. It did that save. I didn't lose anything. I just had to open the job back up again. Okay, so that is a very important thing that the software does. It backs itself up. But I can see here under the footings, blue circle, Mastercrete original cement, building sand bulk bag, engineering bricks, facing bricks, ready mix concrete, solid dense concrete, and all these items. And the reason I showed you the reports earlier on in the library is because we've got all 6 columns here, but if you wanted to, in the library, you can make these reports look exactly how you want them to look. You can even do it here and then save it, and that'll be your default report. Okay, so what I can do now is I can go, actually, I want to remove quantity excluding wastage and my wastage quantity, and I want to exclude those costs as well. So now what I'm looking at is exactly what I need to order, how much it costs, how I buy them, and then the overall amount I need to order and how much I need and how much that's going to cost me. And then if you wanted to, I could save that report. That'd be my default report. And no matter what, every time I go into a new estimate, the report is going to look like that. Okay. And that is the Takeoff and Estimating Kit working in tandem for this demonstration. 2 more things I want you to know as well is that if you already own these packages and you're just looking at this from just a tweaking idea kind of a level, what we also have is our health and safety software. So what you can see here is you've got risk assessments. This is how they look. All right. But what you're going to see here is that once you've done your estimate, you would import it into Health and Safety Expert. You'd be able to change the icon of the software to whatever you wish, and it's going to generate all your risk assessments from all the elements of the estimate that you've already done. Okay, so it's going to generate all of that information for you, something that you can then sign off and get your guys to sign off on site as well. What we also have is a contractual management software. So if you don't have any contracts, you don't know how to deal with legally binding contracts, we work with a construction legal firm outside of London. And then what you can do is you can then speak to them, you can get their advice. You can also use our software that is written up all by them as well, which generates the notice of the right to cancel. So if I just click save here, what you're seeing here is a legally binding contract that you have to give to every one of your clients. Okay, if you do not give this to them, and this is law, and they decide to turn around within that 14 days and say, I don't want to go ahead with the build, and you're like, well, I've bought everything already. If you haven't given them this or notice of the right to cancel, if they took you to court, they're going to win, no matter what. It's that black and white. Okay, so these contracts are very important to have as well. We're there if you need you. Okay, and it's actually our cheapest software package to have for safety and concern. And again, what you would do is you would just select the job, you would pull it in, and it pulls in all the site details, all the money requirements, all the payments, all the assumptions that are selected, any additional documentation that you're going to need, the suppliers that you're using, any subcontractors that you're going to use, and then any published contracts that need to be stated on your particular site as well.